Buff Nation, what's going on? Hope you guys are all having a great day. Took some time off. I'm back with it. We got some news to catch up on. First, we'll get into Coach Prime's health update. It's great to see him provide a statement with what's going on. If you guys are wondering what's going on with Coach Prime, we'll catch you up here in a bit. And some positive news, big time positive news for all Buffs fans. And if you're a Broncos fan as well, Will Sheppard and Shane Coates are trying out now with the Broncos for minicamp. They earned this invitation after, by all accounts, performing well in rookie minicamp. And I'm really hopeful that they get the opportunity to compete in training camp for a practice squad spot, or hey, even a practice squad, or even a 53-man roster spot as well. So, of course, y'all feel free, join the chat, smash that like and subscribe if you haven't yet. But let's go ahead and get started, guys. We got a lot to catch up on. First off, if you're wondering what's going on with Coach Prime, Heather Dinich recently reported this. Colorado coach Deion Sanders has been ill and out of the office recently, a source confirmed to ESPN on yesterday. According to a report in USA Today, Sanders has been in his estate in Texas dealing with an unspecified health issue. As the school's annual summer football camps began last week, the timetable for his return is unknown, of course. ScoBuffs22, good friend of mine, saying prayers for Coach Prime. Y'all be keeping him in your prayers. And what was great is that yesterday he also came out with a statement just kind of speaking to all this. He said, wow, I am truly blessed for the abundance of well wishes, for all the thoughts and all the prayers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can assure you all that everything is okay and will continue to be so. God got me like no other. I have so much work to do to glorify God, so please believe God got me. I'm excited to get back to Colorado, to be home with my staff, team, and all associated to our program. When we arrive back to Boulder, you will be updated on everything. Until then, I'm coming, baby. Hashtag Coach Prime. Who knows what health-related issue he's dealing with? I think that he might have mentioned in an interview recently how he, might have lost a little bit of weight, or maybe Neely was saying that, But I hope it's not related in any way to what was going on with his foot and circulation. Of course, kind of dealing with some of those blood clot issues. I'm no health expert, but I would imagine that if you're dealing with something circulation related, it can be tough staying at altitude. So hopefully with whatever's going on, he's recovering fine with it, and he'll be all good to go. Now, if you're worried about him missing time right now, it's summer conditioning. This is not a time where he's super hands-on with the players. This is definitely time for our strength and conditioning staff to kind of run at the forefront when it comes to working with the players. So right now, what Coach Prime needs to do is rest and recover, not worry about anything else. I think this is great that we got this update, and I'm not worried about it. So let's continue to move on here. We'll get to some of your guys' comments after we get through some of these items. So here, according to Mike Kliss, Will Sheppard and Shane Coates, as you can see right here, are mini camp tryouts for the Denver Broncos. And I think that this is very exciting, because I think that both Will Sheppard and Shane Coates have opportunities to be signed to the 90-man roster, which would then give them the opportunity to compete in training camp for an active roster spot, or be one of the 15 practice squad guys that they could keep on the roster as well. And Will Sheppard is just somebody throughout this process. I thought he would be a fantastic fit in the Broncos offense, what Sean Payton loves to do. And he definitely fits that physical archetype of big, tall, speedy, rangy receivers that Sean Payton loves to incorporate in the offense. So we'll break down Will Sheppard a little bit. We'll get to Shane Coates, but Will Sheppard originally was picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a UDFA, and then they failed his physical. Now, that could be made for a number of reasons. Maybe they wanted to create space for another guy to come on the 90-man roster as a UDFA, and of course didn't want to have to pay him whatever signing bonus or anything like that you would have to have. So what do? you fail him with the physical. I think it was like a shoulder or something like that. And I was bummed about that because Will Sheppard, he was the one receiver after Travis Hunter that I thought would be drafted. And in a lot of my mock drafts, I had the Broncos taking him in the later rounds. So I love to see the fact that he's back in Colorado. He's working with the Broncos with a system that I feel like is advantageous for his skill set. And if you guys are wondering, what are the odds that he can make it? Well, first I want to just share this retweet that I had. I said, I really hope Will Sheppard is signed to the Broncos 90-man roster and gets the opportunity to compete for a practice squad and roster spot in July. RAS score is very important to me. In the NFL, you need really good athletes. And Will Sheppard measuring in at 6'2.5". Now, not the fastest 40-yard dash. Okay, 4.59. But they drafted Pat Bryant in the 3rd round from Illinois. He ran a 4.61. Keenan Allen ran in the 4.6s. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Puka Nacua ran somewhere around this or a little bit slower. So can he develop more and more as a route runner? I think what's great is that handful of the routes that he ran quite a bit with Colorado, that will fall in line with what he's being asked to do here in Denver as well. But he's somebody that needs to bulk up a little bit. Of course, his weight is 203, but he's got great arm length at 32 inches, hand size 10 inches as well, and vertical over 40 inches. You can see that puts him, in one of the top percentile. I mean, elite grade for vertical and broad. That shows you that he's got explosiveness off the line. And working with the Broncos coaching staff, hopefully he can learn to fine tune that and use that to come out faster out of those breaks out of his routes. So very, very, very excited to see what he can do with the Broncos. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what does he bring? What do I think his strengths are? Of course, man, it's running downfield, grabbing those contested catches, everything like that. Had 2 drops on the year. So you can see right here, 2 drops. He caught, if this will increase here. He caught 12 of his 24 contested catches, which, hey, maybe you want to see that increase a little bit more, but nonetheless showing that you can do it. Average depth of target over 12 yards. All these are good metrics that you want to see. And I think he's somebody that can, add in the blocking game as well. And, has had a little bit more suspect hands in the past. You can see here, he had 9 drops in 2023 at Vanderbilt, but definitely had a much better year at Colorado, under 5% drop percentage. That's great. And I think that if he was the featured receiver at Colorado, say there was no Travis Hunter there, I think you absolutely would have seen him drafted. But yeah, he's somebody that does kind of remind me of Pat Bryant in some ways. The production isn't necessarily there to the amount that some of these other drafted guys have had there, including Pat Bryant. Like, did not get over 1,000 yards this past year, but still over 600 yards, 6 touchdowns, big time red zone threat. I'm pumped for this. And you can see here, let me pull this up, that he's already getting some of the work done here in minicamp, courtesy of Ryan Green of DNVR. This is awesome to see. He's wearing the old Ed McCaffrey 87, which is fun to see, or Eric Decker, but I mean Ed McCaffrey. He's the guy that I think of in 87, and I think he's looking very quick. So let's see how this progresses. But with the Broncos roster right now, I think there's definitely opportunity for him to earn a spot on the practice squad. There are a couple guys that he'll be competing against that signed as UDFAs. Joaquin Davis, he's like a 6'4", 6'5" guy out of one of the HBCUs. I can't remember offhand, but he had like a 43-inch vertical, just not a ton of production and usage, but he's kind of like a freak athlete. I would imagine that Will Sheppard's a little bit more of a complete product right now. And then also like a guy who's been in college for like 6-7 years, Jawan Newton out of Toledo. He's kind of more of a speedster, shorter kind of guy, but I love to see the fact that he was brought in for rookie minicamp. I tagged Sean Payton in a tweet once he was released from Tampa Bay. I'm like, please go after this dude. I'm not attributing him being on the Broncos to me, but it is always cool to see when the Broncos bring in some of your guys. And I think he's got a fantastic opportunity to make the practice squad right now, which I think would be great. And who knows what happens after that. Now, when it comes to Shane Cokes, he was somebody that I wasn't expecting to get drafted, but I was surprised to see that he was not picked up as like a UDFA originally, and given a rookie minicamp tryout a few weeks ago with the Broncos. And I've tried to like put together his testing. He didn't have a relative athletic score, I think, because he didn't test in a lot of ways. But if you wanted to compare Shane Cokes to what he tested at versus some of the guys at the combine, let's do that. So, 31-inch vertical jump, and then a 9 feet and 4-inch broad jump, and that's very, very good in terms of the well, not very good, but it's good in terms of the explosiveness. And he had, according to, let's see here, Sco Buff Sports, take a look at this. He had 29 reps on the bench press, just one less than Chidozie, one more than Justin Mayers. And let's take a look at the combine. So when you look at the broad jump, he had 9 feet 4 inches. You can see, I mean, testing more right there with TJ Sanders, Josh Farmer, Tonka Hemingway, more than Darius Alexander, Zeke Biggers. Like, all these guys were drafted, which is encouraging to see. Then when you get to the vertical, you remind myself what that was, 31 inches. You can see not as good in this sort of category, but still a handful of guys that he tested over. JJ Pegues, this was a guy that I like. Nazir Sackhouse, Jamari Caldwell. Now, granted, some of these guys are a little bit bigger than he is. I don't exactly know what he weighed in at, but let's take a look at the bench press as well. And you can see he tied for Jordan Phillips right there. These guys are much bigger than size-wise than I think Shane Cokes was. I think Shane Cokes was at like, what, 315, 320 playing at CU. Oh, what is going on here, man? What is that guy saying? Oh, I guess Jordan Phillips is a little bit smaller than I imagined, but yeah, right along there with Jordan Phillips, one of the Shrine Bowl standouts. I think that's fantastic. And when we take a look at the roster right now, again, a handful of receivers that Will Sheppard will be going up against: Kyrese White, Courtney Jackson, Juwan Newton, Joaquin Davis. I think Will Sheppard is a more finished product than all these guys. Now, I don't know if he's direct competition with Juwan Newton because they fit kind of a different profile of wide receiver, but this is all very, very good to see him kind of in this room. I don't think that he's definitely has an outside shot right now to make the active roster, but being on a practice squad will be tremendous for him, especially with a good team. Now, when we look at the defensive line, I see Shane Cokes, yes, as a defensive tackle, but in the Broncos 3-4, he'll probably play more of this John Franklin Myers, Jordan Jackson role. And what's great is that I think that he could immediately come in and compete with guys such as Ioma Owazarike. This guy is huge. He's been drafted a few years ago by the Broncos out of Iowa State, but I think he's never played up to his size, in my opinion. And Matt Henningsen, I think, is going to be direct competition for him as well. I could see Shane Cokes beating out these guys to be on the practice squad. And again, an outside chance to make the active roster. But first, we need to see them be signed to the 90-day or 90-man roster first. Hopefully, coming out of minicamp this week, they will earn that. But this is something in which the Broncos really need depth at interior defensive line. They don't have a lot of guys here. They don't have a lot of guys trying out. So I think the opportunity, again, to land on that 15-man practice squad for both Will Sheppard and Shane Cokes is it's looking great. So we'll see what happens now, but I'm excited to see this. I love to see more buffs getting the opportunity with the Broncos. It's something that, hey, we haven't really had much since Philip Lindsay was here during his 2 years, UDFA, 1,000-yard rusher in both of those seasons, did not fumble once, which was great. And now he's working in radio in Denver, which is awesome to see. But all this is very positive news. I'm going to be rooting for these guys. And again, props to Sean Payton bringing these guys in. Let's continue to bring in more buffs to Denver, man. They're an hour down the road, man. That's all. All right, I'll get to a few of your comments. We'll keep this fairly short, but really do appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's good to get back in the swing of things. Summer workouts are here now, which is great, but yeah, man, I'm scraping for content ideas right now. I don't like to come on here and just spam with stuff that I don't care about. I like to get on here with stuff that I care about. So RK's forehead, wonderful profile picture, wonderful name. Dave, it's about time you go live. Will Sheppard. Hope Will Sheppard gets signed by the Broncos. I hope for it as well. And would be a really easy move for him because it's, Dove Valley, given traffic, 45 minutes, an hour away from Boulder, depending on what traffic is. And again, I feel like there's just a lot of great players in Boulder right now. And yeah, maybe some of them aren't, first round picks like Travis Hunter, or I still feel like Shedeur is a first round talent in my mind. Nobody can change that perception. I still believe that, but there's a handful of these guys that should be on NFL practice squads at the very minimum. And those are two guys that I think should be. So shout out to Shane Cokes on with the kids. Minicamp, man, I love to see it. And it's been great to see the positive feedback that I think Shiloh's getting as well. A little bit of a side note, if anybody is like super upset right now about Shedeur not getting first team reps, I ain't freaking out right now, guys. Although I believe he's that first round talent, the reality is that he's day 3 pick. It's going to take a little while before he's given those opportunities, whether they're fair or unfair. As long as he continues to win the situations that he can control, he eventually will get that opportunity to run with the first team. No doubt about it. But I'm not going to be outraged over what the rotation is going on for minicamp. Now, Bo Nix, for instance, he was a first round pick with the Broncos. They had Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham here last year, and he was like rotating in like every 3 days with the ones, and that was being a first round pick. So I'm not freaking out about it. Again, if the Browns are going to find their franchise quarterback, they're going to be doing it in the most Browns way possible. We'll see what happens in training camp when the pads come on and when they're playing the preseason games. That is when, again, like Dak Prescott wasn't blowing away Tony Romo in OTAs from my memory, right? When the lights came on, who played the best? It was Dak Prescott, baby. Let's see here. Don't give a damn. I'm praying for the day that I just see a comment from you that is just, positive and uplifting. I love you, man, but I got to be honest. When I think of, Debbie Downers coming in here in the chat, it's usually don't give a damn. I'm usually wondering, what are you complaining about today? What are you thinking about, that just isn't good enough with the Buffs today? I just got to know, man. I'm just not wired that way, but we will entertain this like we do every single time I'm on here. You come on here. Really do appreciate you. You said, Dave, why is the Gold Jacket running backs coach only had one running back on an official visit? I was told he would make a big difference. I feel like we've talked about this. Don't give a damn. Give me 1 second. I wish we had more running backs on visits too, but I will say, don't give a damn. I wish we hosted a lot more players on official visits. That's usually just how it is. But I think the overall strategy for this staff is to zero in on guys, one or two or maybe three at a time, and that's about it. I think the only position group that we really host a numerous amounts of high school guys like coming out here are like those wide receiver type guys. I wish we did more of that for other positions, but it just seems like this is the strategy for the program in general. I don't think it's necessarily specific to running back. But I think the greatest tool for Marshall Faulk is going to be the production of the running back room this year. I understand why guys don't want to come on visits here when our leading rusher barely rushed for over 400 yards last year. When we still weren't giving guys many carries. Out of all the FBS teams, what are there? 132, 133. We were last in rushing yards per game. I think that has more to do with it than necessarily Marshall Faulk. But I think, again, the biggest positive I think Marshall Faulk coming in here with is that he's not going to be like Coach Flea, where he's not going to be respected advocating for his guys to get the ball. I think we're going to see a philosophy shift with this offense. Now, we're not going to be running it 70% of the time, nothing like that. Can we get to 40% often? I sure hope so, especially with Kane Salter at quarterback. But I think the biggest thing, again, with Marshall Faulk is that there's going to be more of a demand to make sure that his guys are getting the ball. And don't sleep on Kalen Taylor, man. Now, he might more so profile as a kind of a scat back in the NFL, right? Darren Sproles type, if he's hitting his ceiling, probably. But these small running backs like this that are quick as heck, they can juke you out of your socks in a phone booth. They got straight line home run hitting speed. Those guys can be quite successful in the more open game in college football. And I'm very, very excited to see what Kalen Taylor can do with 10 touches a game. Can we get him 10, 12 touches a game? I think that would be a lot of fun. We'll see the progress that Michael Welsh can take. We'll see if Dallin Hayden reaches a new level this year. But you guys know me right now. I'm just not really anybody that cares to freak out about the progress or lack thereof of progress for high school recruiting in June with this staff. We're going into season 3 now. We have enough data to show that we end up getting guys, whether it's like 8 to 15 guys, every year out of high school, something like that. We're very much more so selective about who we bring in. That's just the nature of it. We're always going to be a transfer portal heavy team. Do I wish we hit the portal harder at some positions? Yes, but I'm just not here to complain about Marshall Faulk. I am hella thankful having Faulk out here compared to Flea, man. And best of luck to Coach Flea out in Wyoming. We get a little rematch against him this year. We can't let Coach Flea's guys run all over us against Wyoming. What is it? Week 4, week 3, week 4, something like that. But don't give a damn, man. I love you, but man, you got to touch grass. I'm going to give you a challenge, man. It would be great to see you in here with a live stream talking about something that you're happy about for once, man. I mean, this whole thing is fun. Coach Prime's here. We care about the Buffs. This has been the funnest era of Buffs football we've had in quite a while. But I feel like college football fans in general, when I compare it to NFL fans outside of like maybe Steelers fans this year, until I don't know how they feel about Aaron Rodgers, but every offseason there's always hope for NFL teams, right? The draft, the free agency, the coaching changes, right? There's always reason for positivity throughout the offseason going into the season, maybe give or take just a handful of teams, right? With college football, I feel like it's the exact opposite. I feel like people are more so defaulting towards negativity because they feel like their program is never doing enough. And And maybe that's because, out of the 130 teams or whatever, only a select few really have the chance to go out and win a national title every year. Maybe that's it. And the disparity of not having a salary cap or a draft, stuff like that, maybe takes away from some of the parity. But I do find that interesting with college football fans. And it's not just CU. I think it's just college football fans in general. I feel like they're always looking at what isn't being done, what isn't good enough. And don't get me wrong, we still have ways to go before I think we reach that level for being a national championship caliber, threat. But I love seeing the process. I love seeing the building blocks. Has it been, straight up linear the whole time? No, but I do find that pretty interesting how college football fans are always focusing on what they don't have, I think for the most part, while NFL fans are it seems like they're always pumped up about the change that has happened. Do you guys ever, feel the same with that? Uh, yeah, like I don't mean to pick on you. Don't give a damn. I'm not picking on you directly, but I do think there is a huge disparity between my channels, the types of tone and comments that I get on college football related things to NFL. RK's forehead. Will Sheppard is better off with the Broncos. You're absolutely right. Well, we'll see what happens with the Bucks new offensive coordinator and all that. But again, Will Sheppard is a Sean Payton type of receiver. No doubt about it. 6'3", contested catch guy, big time red zone threat. You saw the big time catches that he made throughout this season. Now, couple drops, but when the moment mattered the most, aside from Baylor, he came up clutch for us, man. Will Sheppard, he's going to fit in great with what the Broncos ask of their receivers, and give him a year to continue to be in a strength program and being one of the best strength and conditioning programs in the NFL right now. Yeah, who's to say he can't make an active roster down the line? So I think it's a tremendous fit for him. And the moving expenses won't be much. So I'm going to be praying the Broncos sign him to that 90-day man roster. Give me Will Sheppard over freaking Courtney Jackson. Brewster, if Denver picks up 2 buffs, they'll definitely gain more Boulder fans. It would be great to see, man. And now with Prime just bringing in so much better talent than what we've had at Boulder, it makes sense why there's been a lot more NFL scouts there over the last couple of years. And I would imagine that Denver has been no exception to that with sending guys out there. I think the fact that they brought in both Shane Cokes and Will Sheppard right now shows that they have been there. They have been scouting these guys. Sean Payton had a lengthy discussion with Will Sheppard after, I think it was the Buffs Showcase Pro Day type of thing. So we'll see. TMFB, Buffs got Cam and Draylon. Who's Marshall? Marshall can them similar. Oh, Marshall Faulk. Probably can see them, similar to his style, I think is what you're saying. Yes. And this brings up a great point here. Let me bring up this tweet. Somebody brought up the idea of like, man, we need to move. I think it was Osakin's ducktail. We need to move Kam Mikell full-time over to running back. I want to see that happen as well because, again, I think he will get snaps at wide receiver, but I think it's going to be limited snaps. I think his opportunity to get on the field more definitely happens at running back for the Buffs. I want to see it happen. He's a jack of all trades type of guy, and I would love to see him out here with the Buffs. I mean, here we go. Jamal Charles type of back. I love it. This is what Osakin's Ducktail says. And y'all follow him on Twitter if you haven't done this. Hear me out. Kam Mikell, running back one. Pow. Jamal Haynes was a wide receiver at Georgia Tech. No stats for 2 years. Coaches moved him to running back. 1,000 yards instantly. We'll see him game one. Yes, when the Buffs take on Georgia Tech. Cam's got the same game-breaking ability, speed, vision, buried at wide receiver 5 or 6. Let him eat. I absolutely agree with this. And a lot of times, man, especially in college football, you just want to get, however you can, your best athletes on the field as much as possible. I think Kam Mikell is the best athletes we got on the team. And I think if you move him to the backfield full time, I mean, no doubt he would be our fastest running back. I mean, maybe we can see a race between him and DeKalin Taylor. I don't know what he's been clocked at, but Kam Mikell has always been clocked at on the field in terms of field speed and practices and stuff like that as one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy certain days, consistently hitting speeds of over 20 miles an hour. So I would love to see, I mean, look at that. Look at that right there. I think that let's see what Marshall Faulk can do with a guy like that. A guy that's an elite athlete, a little raw at playing the position, obviously. Let's see what he can do. I think Marshall Faulk likes these guys with a receiving skill set and the ability to take it to the house out the backfield. I want Kam Mikell on the field. He would be another headache for defenses to keep track of with our starting, 3-4 wide receivers, having Draylon out there as well. If I'm Pat Shurmur, that's something that I'm talking to him about, is moving him to running back. Is Pat Shurmur creative enough to think about that? Something like that. Hey, we'll have to see. Why is he even buried at wide receiver? We haven't seen him on the field, but I think that initially when you're talking about who should be the starting wide receivers, I think most people are, favored to go with guys who have produced, or who are those bigger 6'3" type of guys. And I think our guys right now are the Omarion Miller, Draylon Miller. These guys have been productive. Now, Omarion, he needs to prove this year that he can stay healthy and not have like a freak injury. And I think he can do it. And Joseph Williams, productive last year at Tulsa. So who knows? Maybe he beats out those guys. But from what I've heard, we've heard some Kam Mikell, hype at wide receiver. But I don't know if we've heard so much about to the level of him being better than any of those guys that I just listed. Could he be better than some of the guys like Hakeem that we brought in? I'm trying to remember the other wide receiver that we brought in offhand. I'm not particularly sure, but let's say, yeah, he isn't starting at wide receiver. Put him at running back. But I'll say this, Viral Authority. If he's not going to be starting at wide receiver, I think you absolutely need to put him at running back because he's one of our top athletes. He's absolutely one of our top athletes. So he's got to be on the field in some way. If that's at wide receiver, that's great. I won't complain about that. If it's at running back, I won't complain about that either. I just think his path to playing is a lot easier at the running back position because I think wide receiver and edge group is probably our strongest positions right now, depth-wise. But in the fall, Viral Authority, it would not surprise me at all if he works his way up to being a starting wide receiver. What, he's going into his second year now? We'll have to see. I think there would have been more hype on Kam Mikell last year had he not been injured and missed the whole year. I mean, redshirted. So we'll see. This is going to be the first time we see what he can do. And who knows? Who knows, man? Taylor not ready, but great for depth. I would argue he's probably the most ready back we got. He has a hell of a lot more college experience than any of our other running backs do. Michael Welch has a little bit. Draylon Miller, or not Draylon. Dallin Hayden has been around college football for a while, but I'm pretty sure DeKalen Taylor had, you know, way more touches than what Dallin Hayden did in his entire career just last year here in San Antonio at Incarnate Word. And if there's one position that I'm not worried at all with making the jump from a lower level to big time college football with, it's running back, man. Running back. I think he can do it. Now, is he ready for like a workhorse type of load? I don't think he's that type of back, but if you give him 10 touches a game, I think he can do it. In terms of touches, he's the most experienced guy we've had throughout the whole running back room. Did you mention what Will's issue was? I think he failed his physical because they failed him on like a shoulder. Don't fact check me on that, but I think that's what it was. But again, he could have failed that for a number of reasons. They could have failed him because they ended up having the opportunity to bring in somebody as a UDFA that they prioritized over him. And like those sorts of things on the bottom end of rosters happen all the time. So we didn't hear anything about Will Sheppard, having an injury or anything like that through the pre-draft process. If he had a bad shoulder injury, I don't think you see the Broncos bring him in for even a tryout, right? So I think it was just kind of one of those shading things that happens in the NFL all the time. So we'll have to see. Now, TMFB, I don't see him as a pass blocker breaking tackles like down. That's not what you're bringing him in to do. You're bringing him in to make guys miss all the time. I don't think you're bringing him in to pass protect often. Absolutely not. No. This is a guy that you want to get the ball in space. Not like a Dylan Edwards. I think he's a little bit more wiggly than Dylan Edwards, but similar roughly in the idea that you just want to get him the ball in open space and see what he can do with it, right? So again, he's not going to be the guy like you got Dallin, you got Micah Welsh to pick up a blitzing linebacker. So, but yeah, that's in terms of yards per carry. I guess I'll say this in terms of efficiency, yards per carry. I think DeKalen Taylor will be that dude in the backfield unless Kam Mikell is that guy. But outside of DeKalen Taylor, we don't have a guy that can take it to the house out of the backfield. Like that can run past dudes, that can break away from dudes. That's why you want Kam Mikell in there. Then you got at least a couple guys that can do it. Dante thinks that Draylon needs to be a running back as well. We don't need 1,000-yard wide receivers. Yeah, we don't. I think it would be a lot of fun having Draylon as a full-time running back. And this is a big time for him, man, because my hot take this year is that he leads the team in receiving. But that's going to be tied to how he develops as a route runner. A lot of his targets, last year came around the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. Can he develop as a more fluid route runner downfield? Can he be a guy that's going to absolutely obliterate guys over the middle of the field? Is he going to be able to, have really quick breaks out of his routes to, open up, those sideline routes and, those quick outs too? I would love that. He would be a matchup nightmare if he can develop as a route runner. Let's see what Coach Phillips can, draw up for him this year. Neck bone. Get all the backs you want. Charlie starting just like last year. Probably right. We'll see. Yeah. But we're going to run a committee. I don't see us, TMFB, like using a workhorse right now with this backfield. I don't see it at all. I think it would be interesting to give guys like straight up like their own drive or two and see how they do. But it would be nice to have just a guy who's, that dedicated third down back. I think that guy will be right now Dallin Hayden. We'll see. Does Salter seem like a knucklehead, or is that just me? I think that's just you, man. I don't think he's a dunce or anything like that. Yeah. How about Kam Mikell becomes our Jamal Charles? I love that idea, man. I think that'd be a ton of fun. Yeah, defenses will know how to scheme that, but as long as they can do a couple different things, we'll be okay. Like if DeKalen Taylor can run the ball well, show good vision, and catch passes out of the backfield, that's great. If Michael Welsh can run the ball really well as pass protect, that's going to be fine. If Dallin Hayden can do those things, good as well, it's going to be okay. I think where you run into problems is, for instance, with the Broncos last year, is that you got Javonte Williams out there and he can't do anything outside of pass protect. So it does allow you to kind of key in on what's going on. Maybe it's that kind of way with Charlie Offerdahl too, right? No shade to Charlie. He doesn't really particularly do anything super well. So allows you to kind of game plan around that. So as long as you can do two things fairly well, I think you're going to be in a decent spot with the offense. So guys, I'm going to get out of here. Going to work on my Broncos video next, but really do appreciate everybody coming in the chat. Again, big prayers for Coach Prime and his health. I just pray that he's okay. And this is the time to take off, man. It ain't no biggie if he needs to take handful of more weeks to make sure he's in good health. It's off-season conditioning, baby. Recruiting, we'll get there, guys. I guess my challenge to you guys this week is, don't think about what we don't have. Don't just perseverate on that. But let's. This is going to be a fun year. A lot of unknowns on the team in a lot of position groups. We've lost a lot of really good players, and I'm really excited to see who steps up this year in leadership roles as well as the production roles that we need in order to compete for a Big 12 title, man. So. Love that. You guys are great. Have a wonderful day. Go Buffs.